Well, thank you so much for being here, ladies. I appreciate it very much. My name's Tenaya, and I think it's fitting we readjusted some things so I could go before lunch, because I hope to add some more fun for our beautiful Sunday that we're spending here. So let's start it off just so you can really know what I'm about. I'm going to share with you live. I will be singing one of my music videos, so I hope you enjoy it. And this is our music. All right. Waking up, what to make, how can we innovate a better modern city? Think IoT, you know me, writing tweets, hope my view is new and witty. Teach the class, spread the word, I'm a nerd, we could form a whole nerd committee. We code this, connect that, hack yeah, all my girls code and still look pretty. This thread is steel. It's stainless steel. This thread is steel. Sew it head to heel. This is how we make, yeah, sewing it, connecting it. Yeah, we make it like that. This is how we make. Make. This is how we make. This is how we make, yeah. Sensors and outputs, parallel circuits where it's at. This is how we make. So. This is how we make. When I dream of a wireless community, we use UNATS and Arduino. Software, course I care, code it right through the night and just use the Linino. Now think big, get the kids, teach the gig, test the grunt, fill, and be a maker. At my soldering class, rogue making in the grass, we're gonna need more than an acre. Blipless is surreal. It's got appeal. You'll hear my spiel. Blipless is for real. This is how we make, yeah, soldering, melting it, stuff resistors into PCB. This is how we make, melt. This is how we make, this is how we make, yeah, capacitors, resistors, LEDs, we blink it like that. This is how we make, solder. This is how we make. So this is a shout out to all the Coder XX ladies in the room. Thank you for being here. And it's a shout out to all you makers prototyping at Maker Monday, but it's Tuesday. Ooh, staying up late making, I know that. And a shout out to all you kids buying wearable tech with your rent money. It's electric. This is how we make, yeah, coding it, controlling it, micro is the internet of T. This is how we make, decoder. This is how we make, this is how we make, yeah, drilling it, milling it, yeah, Dad, we're cutting into wood. This is how we make, drill. This is how we make. And yes, to all you makers going to sleep with an idea and waking up with a plan, make it. Exactly. And to all the OG makers like our grandparents, respect. What? Wait, no. Bring the heat back. That's right. I know we're all hungry for lunch, but we're just getting started. Uh-oh. And this is my third music video I got to produce with my wonderful friends at 152 West and perform at Maker Faire. Awesome. Awesome, and that is not even as rogue as I have performed that. I had a couple events, I'm like DJing it from my phone into the microphone and all that. So yes, I hope you all could hear that, and thank you so much. So, back to this slide. Thanks again for having me. My name is Tenaya Hurst, and this is only my second trip to the Computer History Museum. I need to come here more often. This is great. So you can find me at these various things. Arduini is my famous light-up wiener dog you saw me soldering on in the video. And I have my own thing called Rogue Making, and I am lucky I get to work for Arduino. It is a super exciting time. So where did I come from? I'm an actress, just so we get this out of the way. So I also, I triple majored in geology and anthropology, so I do have a science background as well, but it's true, this is a lot of what I was doing, and this is a picture of my wiener dogs, so you can tell I'm into wiener dogs, and all of that. So then I got a job at the Tech Museum of Innovation, also with my friend Lindsay, and we were in different departments, but still also helping on that design challenge learning. And this is just a little pic from our chemistry lab, because I have this geology background. So I was like, oh, they have an earthquakes lab, they have chemistry, physics, and there's some electricity classes, cool. I'll teach those eventually. So initially, the physics classes really impressed me. A lot of us have seen this activity where we give kids Tinker Toys or any other building material. You can just give them tape. You can give them that challenge. And then this fabulous insulation piping tubing. Wow. And then they build these roller coasters all over the classroom. And of course, I encourage them to safely go rogue. And I'm like, tape to the walls. Yeah, there's like, in this classroom, Lindsay remembers Pratt, there were like these dropped cords for power. And I was like, sure, tape to those, why not? Stand on the tables. So that was really inspiring to see what kids did with it. Then I got into the electricity classes too. And we mostly gave kids a little basket with like a couple little things. But one day I turned around and kids had made this thing. And this was the first time that I saw kids go so ultimately rogue. And they just like combined battery packs, and they got 4 fans lighting, and they took materials that were only supposed to be for switches, and they just like built something. And that just really stuck in my mind. So I had to worship it in photo. And then the final piece of this puzzle is one magical day, I became a maker, because I was invited to work on a Saturday at the Tech Museum, and I demonstrated this fabulous wearable tech coat with conductive fabric and an Arduino in the pocket. And of course, I did what everybody does, which is, what is an Arduino? I was like, what is this? Why didn't I know about this? And to know that it was wearable, it just like launched me into this whole other space where I was like, this is all I'm doing. This is the only important thing that's happening. And little 5-year-olds at the Tech Museum were like, oh, I know what an Arduino is. And I was like, oh, jealous. So jumped into it. And once I learned, okay, here's my little Arduino slide about, because I love to collect mispronunciations of it too. The best one is Harduino. So it is hard. And our spell check calls it Adriano, who's actually one of our software developers, and arguing and arduous. So I think that all fits in. And it can be wearable. So I immediately learned about what a lily pad was, and I was just like, I'm hooked, this is happening. So wearable tech continued to inspire me, and this is a fabulous slide. If you see it out there, it's kind of dividing what is wearable tech, where are the areas. I'm definitely in this little pink side of the pie called glamour. I think that's a great place to be, but of course there's variations on healthcare. There's medical and wellness and sports, so they split it up. There's like military, communication, and security, and lifestyle computing. So I was like, where am I gonna fit into that? Obviously actress. I'm gonna be more into the glamour. So then I was like, okay, great, I got this. Okay, I learned what a breadboard was. Okay, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna like wear light bulbs. I got this. This is actually a crazy art piece from Japan, but yeah, that model did have to stand on an outlet. And I was like, I can't stand on an outlet all the time. So I knew it would have to grow from there. But I started making things. That's where you gotta start. So I've always been a sewer. Grandpa, grandma, mom all taught me how to sew. And so I made a little grad hat thing. You can sew some lights into those great dollar store things. I do that in workshops all the time. Just started sewing into scraps, and I love my Hella Scientific shirt, so I was like, I'll add some lights to that too. And then I started coding. I taught myself Arduino. Maybe a lot of us in the room, whether it's male or female, you go to someone in your life and you're like, please help me, let's do this together. So I went to like 3 different men in my life, and all of them were too busy to play Arduino with me. So I did have to learn a lot of it on my own, but then of course by teaching it and encouraging teamwork with kids, I got to absorb by what they learned. But I love the program Fritzing. If anybody hasn't heard about that, it's like Frit, Z-I-N-G. You can prototype with Arduino and breadboard and LilyPad. It's awesome tool. So I learned all of these things. I made my own breadboard piano, and I started developing curriculum like already, because I was hired to work at Camp Galileo. And they didn't have another Arduino teacher. So I was like, I have to teach this to myself and then teach them. But if anybody finds yourself in that situation, you just go for it. Because I was like, yeah, I don't know how to do this. You all have to figure it out. And then they loved that challenge. I was like, yeah, how do you make an orange LED out of an RGB? That's your assignment, you guys. I'll figure that out. And we found 3 different ways. And then we shared it with each other. So it's always going to be a good time. So then I really kept making, and I literally started rogue making. I was like on the subway, I'm like, I'm bored, I want to make something. I have a plane delay, just unpack the luggage and solder in the airport. They will not care. As long as you're in baggage claim, it worked out fine. So that's where I really got this idea of rogue making, along with, Lindsay's definitely part of it. We used to make after hours in the tech museum. But that maybe wasn't allowed because of insurance or something. So I asked the ladies' permission. I was like, can I run with that for my little company name? They're like, go for it. So I then got to go to my first maker fair in 2013. So yes, living under a rock, didn't know it existed. So the first fair I saw was, of course, what it is today, which is the big explosion of 8 million companies and all that. And I met Federico Musto, who is now on the Arduino Lenino team, and he and his team made the Arduino Yun. And I just thought he was the absolute coolest guy ever. Even though I barely know what's going on, I'm like, Linux is the future of microcontrollers. And kids don't want to only use Arduino IDE, they want to use Python and Node.js and Java. So now you can do that with the Yun. And I walked right up to him and I said, I have to work for you. And the mini story I like to tell when I'm talking to adults is I was on the master cleanse. Has anybody done the master cleanse? This is like the weirdest thing. You drink like maple syrup and lemonade for like a week, or as long as you can handle it. I know that's weird, but if I wasn't on that master cleanse, I wouldn't have this job, because I only had 2 breaks from working for the tech museum. And so I could have gone and waited in line for food, or I could have gone and met Federico Musto and got a job. So I was like, I don't need to eat anything today. I haven't done it actually since, which is random too. So met him, he was like, yeah, you're on, let's do it. So I had to still fulfill my contracts, of course, with Galileo and the tech, but then I started working for him. So a little bit of this manifested into one of my first big projects, Arduini, which is just an RGB LED strip wrapped around a dog. And I've been written about in Atmel's blog and all this stuff. I'm like, it's not that hard, but that's okay. It's like, it's a vision, it's a project people see, like I coded it, so all of that is what part of the maker movement is about. And I always bring them to maker fairs, and I can control them with the Yun. So my goal, I'm trying to get them so it can be more of an interactive exhibit with kids. So that's where that's going. And I started developing more workshops, because once people know that you know how to do this, they want to do workshops. So Lindsay's my paper counterpart, and I'm the more sewing fabric counterpart, and we do workshops all over. So my first ones were pretty bad. I'd forget like everything essential, or we'd have to go rogue, we'd have to innovate. I would forget the alligator clips. I'm like, oh, I guess we're gonna have to tape the conductive thread to our components and make sure it works. And that was fine, it always worked out. But I have gotten better at it, and more organized, and I know with our lighting, these are just a couple of those fun photos. And then I was like, what do kids want to make? And I started, letting them do too much. And I've been criticized by groups. They're like, Tenaya, just give them one thing. Make everyone make the same thing. And I just can't. I really can't. Because it's like, I start off more structured in the beginning, but like, look what they come up with. So what this guy was doing, we're doing a project where you spin a cork on a motor for the ArtBot, which we'll see some pictures of. And this kid, he figured out with all my different colors of electrical tape, because I have many colors, it made this really cool pattern when he spun it. And so he was like reimagining the objects himself, and I was like, that's so cool. This one's like almost too hard to visualize, but this guy, he spun the motor with his battery pack, but then attached with foil tape a coin cell battery to this thing that spun. And I was like, no one even knows this is the coolest thing in this classroom. So, that I always remember too. And of course, teaching boys. Oh, the boys. So they will take all the battery packs and they will combine them. So snap circuits, has anybody had a snap circuit experience? Because they're really, really fun. The boys took all the battery packs, and then they wanted to have a competition of the spinners. But as a teacher, I learned for boys, you need to give them a little bit of structure and rules to the competition, because we had this whole thing spiral out of control with people like, you're cheating. And I was like, I didn't know to like regulate, because with women we just figure it out, or someone steps up and is like, I'll hold the meter stick, or whatever. So beware when you teach boys. Give them this freedom, but then corral them. And then when a student says, I don't even know what to do, I have a couple extra weenies around, and then they can make this epic LED spinning hat. So this is now fancy weenie, and he was already thinking of making a spinning hat, but it was just easier for him to make it for a dog. So that worked out. And then I got into the spinning thing. So I created this ArtBot kit, because it is a very common project, a spin bot. But I was like, yeah, I'll do my own. And so the idea is that you make some crazy popsicle stick cork thing. You want it to be lopsided, so this like thing jumps around the table. And then it, obviously when it spins, it goes wild. And the kids made such a variety, like googly eyes and mustaches are essential. Just saying. But I've developed the project now more where we use clear cups, so you can see what's inside and the plastic is sturdier. And this is the circuit we're making, but I make all the kids strip those wires and connect them and copper tape them, so we're basically like we're soldering it, but we're not. Awesome. So the ArtBot. And then sometimes an accidental fez happens. Sometimes. So these boys they were like, I was making an ArtBot and then it just was a fez. And I was like, that's great. So even the motors can bleed more over into the wearable tech as well. And he's like, I'm so weird. He was like embarrassed. I want to take a picture of him. But then look who else made fezes. So it's catching on. So, that's what's also just brilliant to see in the classroom is when one student starts making something and then all of a sudden everybody in the classroom is making headbands or purses. Like I had some zippers one day and everybody made like a purse with a zipper. So, so that can be really fun. And then the most fun thing I have for sure are the LED shades. And these are made by Garrett Mace and Jason Moungie and me, just the three of us. But it's been their vision. And then I sort of stepped in as like, I'm going to take this to the next level. I'm going to wear them everywhere. And I do. They have a 12-hour battery. So I wore them the entire CES show this January. And I wear them to events. And I'm sort of trying to also be that person, maybe who wears it to the inappropriate place. Maybe. I've had people tell me to turn my earrings off. It happens. So, I'm trying to find out when it's appropriate and when it's not. And like, basically, if you can wear a glow stick somewhere, you can wear wearable tech. But when I bring these to the classroom to show kids the really harder multi-tab Arduino programming, they also get inspired. So let's see what they've made. Oh, so I gave these boys wearable tech to sew into clothes, but they were like, we're gonna bring in some sunglasses, and they just glued everything on there with the conductive thread. So creative. And they were like Blues Brothers. They were awesome. And then here's another couple ones, again, a little hard to see, but this guy, he just made this in like a day. He cut out 2 ArtBot cups and made glasses, and he wanted the battery on the same side as mine, so it was so cute. And then this one, I will never understand this guy. He's like, I'm gonna sew lights into my snowboarding goggles. And I was like, I don't snowboard, but I can imagine you don't want lights in your face when you're snowboarding. But I don't know, night snowboarding, maybe it's just to wear on top of his head. Maybe he's cooler than me. I don't know. And then, I just thought this was funny. I saw like, whenever I see a sign that's similar to the shades, I always take a picture with that pattern. So there was that. And I think I got one more here. A little hard to see, but most, these are like bag straps. Most guys and gals were just like, I'll add a couple lights here. But Arnav here, oh, this one. Not only did he sew into cardboard to make sweet Wolverine claws, he sewed lights onto a sleep mask. And then he was like art in motion. He was like, his friends needed to lead him down the runway because we had a fashion show. And it was like, this one, and so the kids that might like confuse you or frustrate you or, you just don't know what to serve them with, they come up with the coolest things. So that was really special too. And here's another one to give a shout out to, because I know we're almost on lunch. But this was Samantha, and I fatefully said one day, we don't have any zebra print fabric. I guess you're gonna have to make some. And then I like go back and help some other kids. And she comes up with this because she wanted to make a vest and it had to be zebra. And it was like, she got the vision down. So I really celebrate that. And then I do get to have some fun too when I'm not teaching kids on the Arduino side. I go to all these hackathons. So this was in Louisville where I got this guy to make beardables. So I thought the ladies would appreciate that at at Coder XX. And then he also helped me solder my shades because like they broke and I was performing my music video with that day. And so even when things break though, you learn, man, you learn. And then even I tweeted this picture and I got another guy to make beardables. And I ran into him at New York Maker Faire. He's like, your tweet. I was like, really? It was so cool. And then, you know, I've gone to New York like so many times. I don't even know how I got so lucky to like go to all these hackathons. And I got to do this cool thing for Qualcomm called the Why Wait Invent-Off. And I was a judge. I'm like, how am I qualified? But I have been a judge now at like 12 other hackathons. So I'm like, I guess, you know, I have a good eye for what I think is plausible and what I've seen kids make. So that is about the end, but here's my one slide with like too many words of my little advice. So I recommend in your makerspace to have volume so that kids can experiment, because you never know. I had a ninja cork army. Good thing I had extra corks, you know. Materials for your activity, but then bring some extra, like, you know, these are the materials that we're all using in this activity, but then here's some cool decorations or just extra stuff. And set those boundaries, especially for the boys. But, you know, go rogue as much as you can, definitely. And then always have a couple little secret things that you don't necessarily show the whole class to not give special treatment. But when someone really comes to you and they're like, I just don't have an idea yet, I'm like, maybe this will inspire you. So that can help. And when things break, like in the art bot, when the motors break, I'm like, oh no, we've had a motor break, this is awesome. And I just turn it around and then one student will be like, I definitely want to break this motor apart and see what's inside. So that can be cool. And then also the repetition. So like whenever I teach a class on the art bot and I say, you are wire stripping all 12 parts of that wire. And the parents say, you really could have pre-stripped those before you got here. And I'm like, no, they're learning. I want them to fail. And why don't you use solid core wire? No, because we have to twist the stranded wire. It's an extra step and, you know, to learn. So that also helps. All right. So this is my little last slide. So this is the look you'll mostly see me in. The crown, the shades, and some blipless somewhere. But thank you all so, so much. And I would love to entertain some questions. And then we'll go to lunch. Yay. If I didn't expel it all. Yes, ma'am.
Where do you see yourself going from this point forward? Like, if you were to think 5 years from now, like, what are you interested in, like, really fostering and studying?
Definitely. I mean, I want to create some books. With Federico, he wants me to rewrite the book, redesign the book. And like Lindsay had briefly mentioned, a book connected to the internet. I totally want to go there, combining things. You know, you can steal the idea, but those fabric books with the fabric samples, I just want to make a book like that we can sew into and add. But yeah, I mean, I think that at some point I might have other life changes. I'm only 32, but you know, things might change in that way. I still will always want to teach, but maybe just more create content.
If you could make light-up pop-up books, I'll buy.
Yeah, I will with Lindsay, for sure, for sure. And then just super lastly, because I know it's lunch, in case you want some other flack, my first conference I ever spoke at, it was because this guy looked into the room and said, I'm Google, I don't talk to small groups. And then he left. And so with 30 minutes to spare, I was approached to be like, Tenaya, can you get up there and do a PowerPoint or something? And I was like, okay. So I put together a PowerPoint, hopefully not too rudely during the other speaker, and I got up there, and then I got called by like the New York Post and all these things. So if you're ever in a talk and or if you're doing a project or something and you're like, oh, not enough people came, or to classes, who knows how many classes Lindsay and I've taught to like 3 or 4 people, I'm like, they're the right people to be in that room. So thank you all for filling this room for both Lindsay and myself. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you at lunch. Awesome.